Good evening, everyone. This is Henry Gambell with SimplerOptions.com, and in tonight's free video I wanted to follow up on the ideas that I had shared with you in Fedex, because as you can see here, these slightly different colored bars are showing you the extended session. So this is where we came in and closed the cash session, and this is the action that we've seen now that earnings have been reported. I always think this is such a fascinating spot to kind of review, the past and then how did that idea play out, because then you can start to decide if these are something that you should include with your trading. Now, as we got into the end of the day today, you can see that Fedex was trading right there at 252 as we got ready to wind down the cash session, and then they had an excellent report off of their earnings. Okay, so after the report, things start to move higher, and you can pretty much bet that person that came out here and bought this at 262 probably was not thinking about that information that we discussed last night, where you're coming in and looking at the idea of a $10 expected move out into the end of the week. So you close at 252, you have an excellent, beat the numbers, all that good stuff. You come right into the expected move and then just get completely rejected. So this is why you want to keep those types of values in mind, and also when you see this thing initially taking off, you don't sweat it too much. One, because if you did do the iron fly, well then the risk is very cleanly defined. Should it keep ripping higher, it was still a good risk-reward trade. Okay, so of course we see that through, and that as it gets ready to open up tomorrow morning, if it's anywhere in this vicinity, that is exactly where you'd like for it to be, and you simply take your profits and move on. So if you like the iron fly, that looks to be doing pretty well. A couple other ways that you can look at positioning this trade, and this will vary for, depending on how much you like to get into these other types of strategies, but this was another point where I was wanting to look at an unbalanced butterfly. So these carry some very similar characteristics, but by initiating this trade for a credit, that's one thing that would give me no upside risk. So in a situation like that, if it comes back and it can pin at 250, well then you still get the benefit of the psychological value there and staying within the expected move and all that good stuff. You would have a little bit more risk to the downside if this trade didn't work out, but this is pretty much right where you want to be in these types of situations, because the $250 puts that you sold should have a nice crush from that implied volatility. Then you have the intrinsic value of the 255s, and that should be a good way to trade it. One last way, and because my whole purpose when I do these is to try to give you the best idea first, and one that I think you can try to safely make money with, and then you can step out and start doing slightly more advanced strategies. So I did the unbalanced fly, and then I took the idea that I shared here. Remember where we talked about that iron fly? Well, this is similar ways of thinking, but what you're doing is just taking the body of it, so essentially selling the at the money straddle, and then coming in with a little bit more conviction to the long side by selling 2 of the puts for every 1 of the calls that you open. So when this was trading up a little bit, I needed to be a little bit cautious. I had you can't quite see it right there, but I took in a credit of $14 on the entire spread. So that would have given me a break even up near 264 if it did continue to rally. But these are all ways to execute the same concepts. We started with the lowest risk strategy, then progress into the unbalanced fly, and then look at the skewed straddle, all as ways to participate around these earnings events. So looks like Fedex will be opening pretty well for us tomorrow. All we have to focus on is managing some of these profits, and I hope you found the discussion helpful.